Welcome back, everyone, to episode 3 of Royale Roundtable. As usual, I'm the Rumham with my co-host Naders above me, and we have two special guests this week, both hailing from Reddit Alpha. We've got Darth Jar Jar up in the corner, and Marcel P to my right. In this third episode of this ongoing series, we're going to discuss, of course, the new update that hit just a week ago. We're going to talk about the new units, the new features, and challenge mode, and of course, with such great members of a top clan here, we're going to be talking about clan battles and other clan-related tournaments. So stay tuned, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Super Magical Cup channel, and check out Super Magical Cup live every Saturday at noon at twitch.tv/supermagicalcup. So it's been a week since the last update hit, and a ton of changes have happened over the past 7 days or so. What did you guys think about the balance changes first and foremost before we get into actually the new cards and the other features? But just the changes to existing cards. Darth Jar Jar, what do you think was the most significant change?
Well, I definitely think that the mirror buff was definitely an interesting change because I used to like never see mirror ever basically in high level play. And now, actually, in this past Super Magical Cup, I know a mirror deck won the whole thing. It was a Lava Hound Mega Minion mirror deck. And so I've been fairly impressed by the way that that mirror has kind of risen. It's still kind of, you don't see it, every match, every other match. But definitely, like, once every 5 to 10 matches, you'll come across a mirror. And I'm definitely glad that it's come into the metagame.
Yeah. Marcel, has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. That giant push, the giant nerf, is definitely not the most significant change.
Not at all. The most important one.
The balance changes, that's for sure. Definitely the mirror buff has brought that card into popularity quite a bit more. I'd never seen it myself as well. So excited to see that sort of change things up. The other changes I'll bring up are lightning is a lot more viable now. It's usable to reset. You have your Inferno towers. You can reset Prince charges if you ever need to, where you might have like an Ice Wizard or a Princess next to it, where you get that extra value. You can reset a Sparky charge. So Lightning coupled with tanks is definitely a thing now. Coupled with Lava Hound, you see that a lot. Coupled with Giant in a couple of decks. And the log. I'm really enjoying having the log in some of my Inferno defense decks, where that little extra second of having the Giant pushed back to let the Inferno tower heat up really does make a difference. So, yeah, definitely a good set of balance changes that have come along with the other cool new content.
I'll echo the log. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll echo the lightning change. Lightning has been a card that it's always been sort of on the fringe of playability to me, and the big ability to knock out Inferno Tower has been huge. I mean, it's allowed a lot of Lava Hound decks to flourish. I think Miner is another card that goes really well with that because sometimes, you're going for a collector and then they drop something like a mini P.E.K.K.A. in the way. And when they do that, you can actually just lightning the collector, P.E.K.K.A. and tower and be pretty happy with overall that exchange. What about you, Naders? What have been the most significant balance changes to you?
I want to echo that as well. The Miner lightning combination kind of works in a similar way to the really chippy minor poison decks that you see a lot, where they're not throwing some huge push at you. It's just a minor, wait to see what the opponent responds with, and then poison everything around the tower, including the elixir collector and whatever else is defending. I've seen a lot of experimentation this week with mirror. I'm looking forward to see what people continue to come up with. I played a little bit of Mirror this week, but my issue with Mirror is the same that it's been always, and that's the drawback that doesn't get a lot of play is that you have to play, when you play Mirror, you're only mirroring the last card that you played, so there's sort of a lack of flexibility there that I'm still struggling with in certain decks, and you kind of have to figure out a deck or a playstyle that really works for that. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with Mirror as this card that you're never using.
But that wasn't the only thing added in this patch. There's been a whole bunch of new features coming out as well. Have any of you unlocked or opened, I guess looted, one of the new epic chests or legendary chests? Marcel, you look like you're nodding.
Yeah, both. I think people have been saying they've been getting them back to back for whatever reason in their chest cycle. So I did get my pair of the legendary chest and the epic chest. I'm saving my legendary chest for when the Inferno Dragon's released. But the epic chest, I believe, contained lightning, some guards, which I really liked. Might have had a giant skeleton in there. So yeah, definitely a good haul for me. I was happy with that, and nice to see some variety added to the chest sort of cycle.
Yeah, I heard on Reddit that, I don't know how true this is, that if you get them close to each other, it's because you were at the end of your super magical chest cycle or something like that, and they were inserted into that. I think that might have been true for me, because I received an epic, a legendary, and a super magical chest in about 10 games. In like a very short period of time, I got all of them. So now I'm not going to get anything for years.
For a while.
Yeah, exactly.
You got it so fast too. You might forget that there is an epic and a legendary chest. You know, it goes so long without it.
Like Marcel, I'm holding mine. 4 days left for that Inferno dragon. I'm hoping for the lucky pull. What about you, Darth Jar Jar? Are you left out in the cold, or did you get one of those cool chests?
No, I also got the epic and legendary chest. I'm saving the legendary chest as well, and I opened the epic one. Don't exactly remember what was in it. Not sure if it was too good, but definitely great value. I also bought the epic chest in the shop for 10,000 gold. Also great value, because normally you pay 2,000 for the first epic, but you get 10 epics for 10 epics for 10,000 gold. So that's 1,000 per epic.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely good value.
Yeah,
that's one feature that I was really impressed with, that feature that they added the special offers into the shop. Not only the new card offer where you can kind of quickly stock up to get up to tournament levels, but the offers that combine, you know, the chest, the gold, and the gems, giving you something along the lines of like 3 times or 5 times the value. There's really, to date, there hasn't been anything that valuable that you can buy through the shop with gems and stuff like. So I think that's really great that Supercell is kind of listening to some of the complaints of the community in that regard.
I can't recommend those epic chests enough for like free to play accounts that are focused especially on tournaments. Like if you can just not worry about trophy pushing and just be happy in like low legendary arena, you can stay at tournament cap cards, and the hardest thing is getting your epics caught up. Well, you make a ton of gold when you're in legendary arena and you're not spending it on level 10 and 11 upgrades. So you can easily save up 10,000 gold and get one of those chests. And I mean, I was able to get a bunch of my epics that were at level 2 up to level 3, and now I can loosely play them in tournaments. Right, level 3 bowler is competitive, if not the best thing. So.
Well, when you think you were paying 2,000 minimum for an epic before, now you're paying 1,000 a piece. So even if you're not,
I mean, I think the key there is getting 6 of any one epic in a lump sum, like just in one moment, is huge. Because it's like 2,000 per epic, but you have to wait months to get 10 of them in a row, 10 in order to actually get the thing up to level 4. It seems like it was a lot of a crapshoot of just random, like, oh, I happen to keep opening this legendary or this epic, or if you got a super magical chest, you might get 15 all at once, and then now you have it level 4. The ability to get like 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row it doesn't even matter what the epic is. Now it's at least tournament capped and you can play it.
Yeah, and I think it might give people more options in terms of what they want to play. I know, like, on my alt account, sometimes I'll see people with, like level 8 commons, level 6 rares, and then they just have one random level 4 epic, and I'm like, oh, they probably opened a super magical chest. And, they're basically forced to play that if they want to, play their best deck, because a level 4 epic, especially if it's something like a golem, like a building targeting troop, is just going to be so valuable compared to their other levels. So definitely an epic chest could give them more variety and choice in what they could play.
Yeah,
that's been my experience with the with my F2P mini. Just a week or two ago, I got my first super magical chest. No legendaries, but I did get like 18 wishes or something like that. It was crazy. My witch went from 1 to 4, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm playing witch decks on my mini, for the next few months.
And I think that's cool, right? I mean, that's sort of how the initial gameplay starts. Everyone gets a random epic, and it's the best card you have really early on. Yeah, so you get a little bit of variety of like Prince versus Witch versus Baby Dragon. I like the opportunity for just, some player in Arena 4 gets a legendary chest, opens up a Lumberjack, and then they have a very different experience. Them and their opponents have a very different experience than what they have the other 99% of games they play at Arena 4. Muting emotes. Muting emotes was another big and much requested change. I personally, I don't BM, but I don't mind being BM'd. Like, it happens to me all the time. You just kind of, just shrug it. Have any of you 3 muted someone yet since the feature went in?
I might have done it just to test it out, just to see what the actual muted like. But, I haven't really been bothering too much to do it every game. I'd imagine that if they had like a setting which you could set outside of the game, so every game you were then in, would have a mute emote. I might set that, but it's a little bit of effort every game to remember. All right, I'm going to open this up, mute the guy. I'll just let it slide. And,
Do you think that having the ability to mute emotes has made people behave better? Like knowing that you could be muted? No. Okay.
maybe worse. If
yeah, like I saw people talking about it. It's like, because you can still see they're saying something. So if they like take your tower, then they send a few emotes in a row. It's like, what do you think they're saying? It's like, come on.
Yeah. They're not saying good game, well played. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, personally for me, yeah, I don't really BM very often, but I also like, I don't really care if they BM me. And it's also kind of funny when they send like the mad face after you like take their tower, or you're about to 3-crown them or something, and they send the angry face. So I think just for the value of that entertainment value, and since I don't really mind, it's like they're BMing me, and I'm like, okay, congratulations, you beat me, and you're having some fun. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I do know that a lot of people who do mind being BM do like the feature, so that's good. Although I have seen some complaints that it's just like, come on, really, what do you think they're saying? I mean, you basically know.
There's no like permanent on or off feature on that, right? You got to do it every single game. Like my problem is maybe if I was getting annoyed, I would shut it off or something. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's so many matches where people are just really super friendly to you, and you have a good time sending each other emotes back and forth throughout the game, kind of meta commentary on what's going on, where it's totally not negative, it's fun. If you mute the person right off the bat, you're cutting yourself off from that experience as well. So I think that I tested out the mute feature, but I'm not going to be using it on a regular basis, because I like it when those little things come up when you actually do have a good back and forth with somebody.
And a new card was released as of last Monday. So we have Inferno Dragon coming out in 4 days, and we have Mega Minion coming out, well, already been out for a week now. What are your first impressions of Mega Minion? And then after that, we'll talk about what we think Inferno Dragon's going to do to the game. Nader, start us off. You got your Mega Minion up to tournament cap yet?
I just got my Mega Minion up to tournament cap the other day with the help of the shop offer, the special offer that they're giving. I think Mega Minion so far, the jury's a little bit out. It seems like it's going to find a spot in a lot of decks, though. I know a lot of people are using it to replace one of the support cards in giant poison decks. We were talking earlier about Lava Hound decks making good use of it. I'm really interested to see triple Minion decks. Minions are one of my favorite cards, so that should be really cool.
Anyone played a triple Minion deck? Darth Jar Jar? Sounds like something you'd play.
Yeah, I was playing earlier today, Lava Hound, Minion Horde, Mega Minion, Tombstone, Arrows, Lightning, and Miner. And it's definitely a lot of fun because you got the spellbait aspect with the Minions and the Horde, and then you've also got just the Lava, Lightning, and Miner, kind of a really great offensive, kind of like an arsenal of offensive assets. And so you can kind of have so many different attacks where you use a Miner to tank. You can take for the Minions, the Horde, the Pups. Then you have the Mega Minion you can send behind the Lava Hound, which does a lot of work. And then for defense, you have the Minions and the Horde if they don't have spells ready to combat them. And then the Tombstone's a great all-around defender, and the Mega Minion, as we know, is great on defense. So definitely a lot of fun to try out those triple Minion decks with really a lot of air coverage. I know a lot of people have been playing decks with like Mega Minion and Minion Horde, or Minions, not necessarily the triple Minion, but still like the basic idea of kind of an all-air deck. It definitely fits in there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with Naders on the jury being out. I think the jury had the quickest turnaround ever and came back and said, this card's nuts. Like, the fact that Mega Minion costs 3 but can't be removed by 4-cost spells seems to make it one of the just gnarliest defenders, because even against things like Mega Minion by itself stops a giant boulder push before you take that much damage. And if you have any sort of support, it's even quicker, or you can even mitigate the damage even more. Marcel P., what's the best Mega Minion deck that you've come across? Like, what archetype do you think uses it the best?
So I've always been a fan of the more defensive decks. If you watched me in any event or any Two Magical Cup, and I've inserted the Mega Minion into one of the Inferno bowler decks I've had, and instead of Miner now, I'm running Rocket. So it's this Rocket cycle deck where I just defend over time, just boom, launch one, launch another. After 5 casts, your tower is pretty much close to being dead. So I've really enjoyed having Mega Minion. I think it's filled a great role where I'm not nearly as scared of balloons and lava hounds now. We never really had an answer to those cards that couldn't be arrow poisoned, and so it's just filling in that one role that's been missing. I think Supercell did a great job sort of identifying that we were needing that role.
That's a great point. Like introducing a card that's very much like minions but doesn't have the same weaknesses as minions. Again, minions are one of my favorite cards, so I like having another minion option that's it's not just going to die to the same stuff that regular minions die to.
Yeah,
you know?
I definitely think that, as Marcel was saying, the Mega Minion gives another great option to kill balloons. So it used to be that it was very hard to counter like a giant balloon push without something that would be arrowed, like, you know, Minion Horde, and you could even pre-arrow that and predict it. But now with Mega Minion, it can actually shred a balloon, and, you know, it's not as vulnerable to spells. So definitely an indirect nerf to balloon, and I think we'll see even less of giant balloon, which is already kind of a fringe archetype.
It's funny, is I actually have been seeing more balloon recently in my grand challenges because the all-air decks have allowed lava loon decks to like be popular again. So I fight a lot of decks that look like, okay, so I play a lava hound, you know, Mega Minion minions, mostly air assault deck, maybe like miner or lumberjack in there for some ground support. I don't play balloon in my list, and one of the common things that I lose to is actually the Lava Hound balloon decks now, because even though I have Mega Minion, it's really easy for the Mega Minion or the minions to get locked on to the Lava Hound, and it's kind of hard to get that exact placement to hit the balloon. So I expected as well the balloon to go down in usage, and I agree that I think Giant Balloon is just like dead, but Lava Balloon seems to be coming back because they also have their own Mega Minions and minions to jump on your Mega Minion while it's distracted.
I definitely see it becoming more popular because, as you said, Mega Minion's great in the air decks, and it's a great countering the air deck. So
yeah,
it's definitely going to continue to rise in popularity.
It's been great for punishing bowlers, though, and I remember bowler was sort of the dominant troop that sort of defined the rest of the metagame. I mean, Giant's just good in all cases, but it was bowler that was really determining like what was and was not playable for a while. And I like that Mega Minion is kind of turning that on its head by making those giant Prince bowler pushes incredibly, like, they just get torn up if you have anything like Ice Spirit or Cannon or anything just to sort of buy time for the Mega Minion to do its damage.
Yeah,
I think that's something. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, Reddit Alpha, we hosted like two 1,000 player tournaments yesterday, and in the second one, I was looking at the top 15 deck lists that finished it at the finish, and only one of the top 15 was running bowler. We still saw a lot of giant, but a lot of Prince and Mega Minion supporting that giant, which are troops that match up very well against bowler. So definitely people are really figuring out how to counter bowler, and definitely seeing a lot of shifts in that meta.
Which is great, right? Because that's what you don't want to just say, this card's really good, it's OP, nerf it. What you want is viable options to things that are dominant, and I think, you know, that's something that Mega Minion provided. Also a good mirror target. But speaking of counters and options that other people have been looking for, Inferno Dragon seems to be exactly what people wanted when they said, give us a card to fight Giant Bowler. Inferno Dragon is going to release this coming Friday. Marcel P., what is your prediction for this card? Good, bad, A tier, F tier?
I think it's going to be good, but maybe not as good as people are thinking. People are hailing it as sort of the savior to get rid of this giant poison meta. And I think it's definitely going to make a big difference. You'll have a lot of decks that can now both defend the giant pushes and then counter push with your Inferno Dragon. I think it's going to be deadly if it locks onto a tower. So you're definitely going to see some counter pushes with that. But just looking at its stats, its range is a lot shorter than the Inferno Tower. The Inferno Tower is 6 compared to 4 for the Inferno Dragon. Yeah. The max DPS is, I believe, around half of the Inferno Tower, so it's not going to melt the giant as quickly. Also, it's going to make Zap a lot more popular than it already is popular, but you'll definitely be getting extra value out of Zap when you see
just another reason to run Zap, like we needed one of those.
Do you think that those minor bowler Inferno sort of defensive decks would find value in replacing Inferno Tower with Inferno Dragon, because it's another counterattacky thing that you have to deal with?
Right, I'm giving that a lot of thought, and those decks don't really mount many pushes at all. So I would imagine maybe a couple more changes to that deck that would make them more interested in actually pushing as well, instead of just sort of bare miners, which a lot of them are okay with. But if you could make a couple changes where you replace Inferno Tower with Inferno Dragon, and maybe another change that would actually promote pushing. Not that I can think of one immediately off my head, but I mean, I could definitely see an Inferno Dragon being part of a good counter push for sure. So definitely.
Jar Jar. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Jar Jar, what's your plan then for Inferno Dragon?
Well, I definitely want to try it out, kind of in these air decks, because what I see it as is if Inferno Dragon does turn out to be like a good card and do well in the metagame, I think we could see kind of a huge shift in which people used to complain about kind of these big giant decks, and now they'll be complaining about the lava, maybe not Lava Hound, we'll see, but kind of all air focused decks, in which if people don't bring enough cards to counter air, like people don't bring arrows anymore, they try to get by on zap, so they can't kill the minions totally, and try to get by on just zap and princess and ice spirit or something like that. And if you don't bring enough cards to counter air, you're going to be in trouble facing some of these decks. So while the Inferno Dragon may melt down some Lava Hounds, if it does succeed in melting down the giants, I think we will see a place for Inferno Dragon in these sort of all-air decks that have been on the fringe for a while and are now starting to inch slowly towards defining the meta.
I mean, they feel good. They just won the Super Magical Cup this last weekend, a player with 2 Lava Hound decks, and they weren't even anything gimmicky. It wasn't like Lava Balloon or anything. It was just Lava Hound with air support, and people just didn't bring enough air to counter it. Okay, so I don't think all air decks will ever truly dominate in the way that giant bowler prince decks had before, because for the most part, air troops have pretty bad stats for their elixir cost. They just have this sort of binary defense of like, oh, if you don't attack air, I'm invincible. So Naders, how much air support is going to be needed in games if all air Lava Hound decks become one of the primary archetypes? Right now, people are kind of cheap out on their anti-air defense with just a Musketeer and a Zap, or Princess and Poison, what have you. How many air attacking cards will you need in your deck in order to realistically counter those Lava Hound decks?
That was my cheap, easy answer is more than now.
Right.
I think the meta of the last few months has definitely shifted to where a lot of people are running maybe one card that's sort of an answer to air, and sometimes it's not even like a great answer, like Princess. What is Princess doing against a Lava Hound? What is Princess doing against, even a baby dragon? It's taken a while to like chip that sort of stuff down. So I think it's going to have that knock-on effect to where they've released so many air units in the recent updates. It's going to force people to be more focused with their deck building and have at least a couple of different options, because just having 1 or 2 cards in there is not enough. You're going to need Musketeer, you're going to need Princess, and some other stuff, not just 1 or 2 things.
The Clan Royale League was this last, their Season 1 finals was very recent, and Clash Wars ended up taking home the title over some other big-name clans. We have 2 guests here from Reddit Alpha, one of the premier tournament clans, and I believe some Reddit Alpha members, Woody and Zadian, participated on behalf of other teams. Can you guys, Marcel P., have you played in any clan events? Like, what was your experience playing in any of those?
I haven't played in the CRL myself, but I have seen a lot of sort of friendly banter on Twitter and the clan chat, and people seem to really be enjoying this format. It seems a lot of sort of camaraderie and sort of this team building aspects of clan sort of guilds together.
Sure.
I think the gameplay's still a little bit more individualistic, where it's more one-on-one matches. So maybe down the road we can see some more clan-based formats where there's a bit more sort of teamwork involved and maybe strategizing some deck building or draft modes. But prop to the Clash Wars team for winning it all. As you said, Woody and Zadian, part of Reddit Alpha, were playing with Clash Wars. Congrats to them. I believe Reddit Alpha is going to be looking to join CRL Season 2. So look out for us.
Sounds good.
Darth, do you have some thoughts on CRL Season 1?
Yeah, I watched a lot of the matches, and I was very impressed with the level of play overall. Definitely seeing kind of the cutting edge of the meta, as well as some of the team aspect. You did see some aspect where the team had to get together and decide which card they wanted to ban from the other team. So you might say, if this clan's really good at playing Giant, or if we're not very good at countering Giant, we might want to ban Giant for this match. So we did see some team aspect, but I agree that there definitely could be more. But definitely congratulations to Clash Wars, and look out for Reddit Alpha next season.
Okay, so what I like a lot about the clan matches is, of course, the clan rivalries. I like the team versus team, that sports team, rivalry sense. Which 3 clans would you say are Reddit Alpha's top 3 rivals? Marcel or Darth Jar Jar, take it away. Either one you think that would be like the rival for you. It could be a friendly rivalry.
Clash Wars is definitely in there. August, their leader, is a great guy. You see in the Super Magical Cup, you have sort of a tally of winners coming from Reddit Alpha. Clash Wars is definitely up there. If not, they might be leading. You have Patriots win a couple times. Elite Gaming is another one that has a lot of winners in the Super Magical Cup, and just a ton of good players in general. Darth Jar Jar, did you have any others to add to that list? Those are the 3 that come to mind. I don't have many other great clans, but go ahead.
I would add Silent. They are, I think, relatively recently formed, but they've been doing really well in both 15,000 card, 1,000 player tournaments. Back when they were going, you'd always see at least 1 or 2 guys from Silent in the top 10. I'd add them, and then I'd add a clan that's kind of, I think, signing up for CRL Season 2 is kind of like newly coming in, is this clan called I don't know how to pronounce the full name, but it starts with like Resistencia something, and they're from Venezuela, and a lot of the great players that left Elite Gaming actually, and some other players who were in other clans before, are kind of forming there, and I think they're definitely looking to give everyone a run for their money. You got Clyde, Trainer Chris, Grubby, CMQ, I believe, just a ton of very good players, and I'm definitely looking forward to competing against them.
I'd like to add Crucible Wrath to the list. They've really impressed me. They've had a few good players. Got Vizard, amongst others, a big Super Magical Cup player. But yeah, I've been pretty impressed with them, and of course I agree with all the ones. Naders, do you have any big clans that have been jumping out to you?
I think you hit all mine. I'm really impressed with Silent recently. The Silent Gaming I believe that clan used to be the Phone Cats 5 clan. Yeah. But their roster these days is pretty nuts. Our guest last week, Hazard, who went very, very deep in the Toronto tournament. They've got a lot of big names showing up at the top of the 15K tournaments, and even in Super Magical Cup, I think.
Pretty cool. We're Super Magical Cup will be doing a clan format in the next season, so stay tuned. We're going to have some more announcements and details about that in the future, but we love the clan versus clan scene, and we definitely want to not just have the Super Magical Cup for individual performances, but some sort of clan versus clan tournament league as well. Alright, so this one would be challenge mode, and just kind of talk about, like, what was your first impressions of it? What decks do you think work better in the mode? Blah, blah, blah. Differences between the challenge meta and the old tournaments and stuff. Cool. I think this will be good. All right. Challenge mode was probably the largest feature that was added in last week's patch. I think pretty much all the top players that I know have been spending a lot of their times in challenges, both classic and grand. Naders, what's been your experience with challenges? Do you like the feature? Not like the feature? What's your first thoughts?
I absolutely love the feature. First of all, I was really surprised by the friends list and how much I'm liking that as well. It's very, very cool to have a lot of people online. You can spec their deck lists and see what they're doing at any given time. But the challenge feature, I think it's really it's a really fantastic way for Supercell to open up the game to different types of players who maybe weren't getting into the 15K tournaments before. Sometimes you had to be on Twitch at the right time and looking at the right streamer and be in the know to get into some of these big tourneys, and then you had to fight your way through a huge field. With challenges, the bar to entry is just 10 or 100 gems. So I think the biggest difference you're seeing with challenges versus the old tourney mode is more maybe like homebrew decks and stuff that you would see on the ladder, people testing out kind of different ideas and stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the bigger tourneys, often you had a lot of the really tough tournament veterans kind of in there who knew the tournament meta and had their pre-built meta decks and anti-meta decks. On in challenge mode, it feels a little bit more like roulette, like you don't know what you're going to get. And I know I've felt a little bit more comfortable about testing weirder decks that I'm working on, rather than going into a tournament with something that I feel is really solid already.
One thing I noticed about challenges compared to the tournament mode is that the pace at which you play can be a lot slower. I noticed that in the old tournament mode, you're trying to get in about 20 games an hour, as many as you can. Decks that would 3-crown a lot were actually really valuable because it allowed you to sneak in extra games in these short time duration tournaments. Marcel P., you play slower, kind of grindier rocket decks. Do you think that those things are more enabled by challenges than they were in the old tournament system?
Definitely. You'd see these 1-hour tournaments, the old tournaments. In your 1-hour tournaments, you definitely had to sort of go with a deck that could 3-crown, or at least had a good chance of doing so. Because if you grinded out, even if you won every game, if you were playing a grind fest and every game went to 5-minute overtime, you're definitely not going to come out on top. So I really like how with these challenges you can sort of play your game, take as long as you need to. You can even draw if it turns out that's your best way of dealing with the game at hand, and put your phone down, come back again later. So I definitely like how your sort of game mode isn't restricting your deck choices, which I don't think was the intention of Supercell to begin with. So enjoying that aspect of challenges for sure.
Awesome. Darth Jar Jar, what is the meta that you've seen in challenges? Because to me, I was expecting something very similar to what the old tournaments had, but I kind of agree with Naders that it seems very... Well, I don't know. In a lot of ways, it's diverse, I guess, because you do see a lot more weird out there stuff. But I still feel like about in a 10-game challenge run, right, like a 7-3 run, a good half of those will be Giant Bowler or Lava Hound. Has that still been the case for you?
It's diverse in the same way that Ladder's diverse, in the sense that you're always going to run into a bunch of the most popular meta decks, but.
Yeah, it's definitely different from playing, especially near the top of the old tourneys. If you were in near the top of the 1,000-player tourney and you went in, you could guarantee with a 90 to 95% chance that you'd be facing a very established meta deck. So you could kind of tech against that. When you go into a challenge match, you can pretty much be facing any deck, and that's from my experience. Is that even if you're running kind of a proven deck, if it has some sort of weakness that can be easily exploited, then you can easily get beaten by a counter deck, even if it's not in the meta. So one advantage in addition to the longer overtime that something like Marcel's Rocket Cycle deck would have is that basically nothing can get through its defense, right? So he's ready for any sort of thing that he could face in challenges mode. So I think that definitely gives it that advantage. Whereas in tourneys, you could kind of tech against the current meta and expect to win almost every time. In challenge, you have to be ready for anything. And I'd also like to add that that to what Marcel said about being able to kind of take a break from the challenge is it used to be in you could have a 4-hour length tourney. If you wanted to have a chance, you could take maybe a 30-minute break, but you'd basically have to grind for 4 hours straight, which is totally crazy, mentally taxing, and just, if you have a busy schedule at all, sometimes not possible. So I think that definitely the challenges, being able to play the matches whenever you want, is really great for the game. And for me personally as well.
Yeah, I totally. I'm somebody who gets mentally fatigued easily from playing a lot of games, so I would always in those 1-2 hour tournaments have to play something that was pretty straightforward. Like I would play P.E.K.K.A. Double Princes or Giant Balloon or whatever, just something that wouldn't exhaust me from playing. I could never do something like a minor deck in those tournaments because the amount of just mental processing power it takes to play a minor deck each game is just wear me down. What's one change that you would like to see to challenges, even if it's just an add-on or a bonus or something? I know mine. What I would love to see is when I beat someone, just a notification about whether or not I ended their run. Was I the third loss? It's I don't need to BM him or nothing, but I just want that satisfaction of just Rumham ends, ended the run or whatever. That would be... Yeah,
so I saw this pretty cool feature idea, which is a post on Reddit about challenges, where maybe Supercell could add a new tab on the TV Royale section, which would... just include maybe game 12s.
Oh, yeah.
I love this idea. If it's truly two people who are at 11 and whatever,
Right.
They're skilled enough to get that far, so that game is going to feature some probably high-level gameplay.
Yeah, that's great.
I would definitely love that because I used to kind of like sometimes near the end of a 15K tournament, I would spectate the top matches and see really some definitely guaranteed high-level play. And I think you'd see similar high-level play in that sort of TV Royale. And just one thing I'd like to add is this is more of like a quality of life change, but I think on your profile, the stats that it shows for challenges are like kind of rudimentary. Like for the max one, I know like 12-1. So let's say you played like 100 challenges and you've gotten a 12-win run once. It's not really showing kind of accurately your skill level or how much you do on average. So it would be more interesting to see maybe an average or something like that. And then also whether it was classic or grand. So I don't know. I just kind of think that if you go to like a lot of good players' profiles, you're going to see 12 no matter what. So you're not really seeing an accurate representation of how they're doing overall across several challenges.
The only argument I have against an average is that punishes the experimenting. Like if I wish it was, I agree with you, but I wish it was 12 win. Maybe it was like 10 win runs, 11 win runs, 12 win runs, and like a counter or something like that, so that there's always some way for it to go up. But the downside of an average is that every time I goof around with some terrible barbarian hut deck and go like 2 and 3, I don't want that to impact my overall stats.
The other thing is Supercell has said before that they don't have any plans to implement sort of win percentages into your profile. I think it would kind of go along the lines of that kind of change, where they don't want to, for players who maybe are new or aren't as good, they don't want to be kind of rubbing that in their face. They want these people to still be excited about playing the game and whatever. So I think while it has some kind of cool statistical benefit to the top players, to the vast majority of the audience out there for Clash Royale, it's probably sort of a negative change that would impact their quality of life.
I would even argue top players don't want to see it. Like, everyone wants to see it until they actually see it, and then they're unhappy. Like, it's one of those things where, and this is true, like, I've been working on games forever, like, people want to see their win rate, but then you tell them they have, like, a 65% win rate, and they're like, I lose a third of my games? Giant's broken, right? Like, it's like people aren't cool with actually knowing that they lose games here and again. So I like the all-positive perspective. I just don't know. But I agree with Darth Jar Jar. It needs to be more. Mine says 12 wins. I've had one 12-win run. Clark Kent in my guild gets like 3 a day.
3 a day.
So I get it. He doesn't work. I understand. Yeah. But he should have some sort of reward for that.
And that's the other thing. If you're a good player, maybe even a great player, but not one of the best players, there's always something for you to feel bad about. Unless you are literally one of the best players, you're always going to kind of look at that and be like, why am I not doing better than that? I'm better than that, aren't I?
Yeah. Everyone goes 50-50 on the ladder. I don't care who you are. You go 50-50 on the ladder. So it'll all work out. And that does it for Royale Roundtable Episode 3. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Super Magical Cup here on YouTube. You can check out the rest of the Royale Roundtable episodes, as well as all the new episodes going forward every week. Check out our History of the Meta series, daily tournament matches, full tournament footage, and of course check out the tournaments live on twitch.tv/supermagicalcup for the best and most competitive Clash Royale tournament, where all 3 of our guests have made their names as skilled competitors. Before we go, Naders, my co-host, you got anything to plug?
Check out my Twitter. It's right there. If you guys have questions, ideas for topics for the next Royale Roundtable, or if you're a top player or know a top player and want to be a guest on the show, just reach out anytime. And yeah.
And our 2 Reddit Alpha members, Darth Jar Jar, you got anything to hype up?
Yeah, definitely my Twitter at @DarthJarJar_CR and my Twitch, DarthJarJarCR. I've been streaming a bit and I'm trying to get into it, so a follow would definitely be great.
Marcel P?
Yeah, shoot me a follow at Marcel P Clash. You'll see it down there. You can add me on Facebook if you'd like. Marcel P Clash as well as my username. And check out our clan. We just announced a new clan website, redditalpha.com. We also have a Twitter account for it, Reddit Alpha, at Reddit Alpha. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely check it out. RedditAlpha.com is going to be their new kind of central hub for strategy content from Reddit Alpha members, as well as, I believe, the Reddit Alpha tournament series that's going to be running every Sunday, right?
That's right.
All right. So, yeah, make sure to check it out. Their leader, our good friend of the stream, Woody, is always making moves in the Clash Royale community to do bigger and better stuff. So, thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.